Do you actually like yourself? Not who you're becoming, not who you're trying to be, but you? Because there's a quiet moment many women reach where trying harder stops working, where performing stops feeling safe, and the life you built starts asking for something deeper. If you're in that moment, stay with me. This is She Rises Through It, a space for the woman in the middle, not the healed version, not the polished one, the one learning how to trust herself while she's still in it. Today's conversation is about worth and what happens when it's been shaped by performance, approval, and other people's expectations for far too long. I'm sitting down with Renee, a wife, mother, business owner, and coach whose story is rooted in struggle, resilience, and learning to trust herself in the messy middle of life. For many years, Renee tied her worth to how well she was performing as a woman, a partner, a mother, and a business owner. She looked outside of herself for validation, allowing circumstances and other people to decide her value until that way of life and living became unsustainable. Through a long, imperfect, deeply human journey, Renee learned something that changed everything. Worth isn't something you earn through roles or results, it's an inside job. In this conversation, we talk about identity, self trust, the unconscious patterns that keep women stuck, and the in between seasons where growth feels uncomfortable but necessary. This episode isn't about fixing yourself, it's about remembering who you are underneath the performance. If you're questioning your worth, if you're tired of carrying it all, or if you're standing in the messy middle wondering who you're becoming, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to She Rises Through It, a space for honest becoming, slow growth, and the unfiltered middle of motherhood, healing, business, and building a life that actually feels good. I'm Sydney, and this podcast is where I reclaim my voice in real time. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it differently. If you're craving real conversations, soulful pauses, and a reminder that you're not alone in the messy becoming, you're in the right place. And just a reminder before we begin, I'm not a medical or mental health professional. Everything shared here is based on my lived experience. Please seek qualified care if you're needing support. You deserve it. You're not behind, you're becoming. Hi, Renee. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you part of She Rises Through It today. Everyone, I just want to introduce you to Renee. She is a wife, mother, business owner, and coach who speaks honestly about womanhood, motherhood, and the messy middle of life. After years of letting external expectations define her worth, she learned that self-trust and confidence are built from the inside out. Her work centers on helping women reconnect to themselves with compassion, clarity, and courage. So welcome, Renee.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, me too. So before we jump in, obviously we're going to have some questions today, but let's tell the audience a little bit more about your story and your journey of life.
Oh, geez. Well, it's been interesting. Let's just say that. I would probably start a little bit when I was a little girl. I really, really struggled with self-worth. I struggled with really seeing my value in any way. And that belief system and that lens that I saw the world through carried with me right up and most of my life, to be honest with you. I struggled with major insecurities when it came to friendships, to believing that I had any value when it came to that. And then it bled into my relationships and it bled into my marriage. And as a mother, boy, oh boy, if you ever want to face all of your things, become a mom, right? Our kids are our mirrors. And, I had to face a lot of things. And I had made a commitment that I was going to learn from my experiences and try not to put that onto my child. I didn't want to repeat my story with him. And so I really, really had to look at that, and I had to face a lot of things and make those decisions when I came up to trying to fix everything for him or overdo it as a parent. Even as a business owner and as a person in the business world, I would overperform, I would overdo, I would people please, I would do all of these things because it really meant a lot to me that you loved me, that you believed that I was good enough for you, and the world was making those decisions for me. So my journey was one of struggle. I think a lot of it was self-imposed because of the belief systems that I had. And a lot of things shifted for me when I was faced with the fact that I couldn't continue to do what I was doing because I wasn't going to be able to survive emotionally, mentally, or physically. And that's when burnout hit and some really big realizations came along. And I finally, after so many years and so much struggle, came home to myself and really started to see my value and see my worth and stop letting the outside world decide that for me. So it's a journey for sure. I don't regret anything that's happened. I don't regret what it looked like or all the ups and downs and the messy, like you talk about the messy middle. Oh, I spent a lot of time in the messy. So, and I wouldn't regret any second of that in any way because it brought me to where I am today.
I love that. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about like it stems from childhood and then having to go through the messy middle. Like it's this entire journey and it's not a destination, and you have to do that work. And your story, it's rooted in struggle, resilience, and learning to trust yourself in that messy middle. So when you think about that season now, what stands out to you the most?
I think if I looked back, I was so focused on judgment of others. I was so focused on it. And I don't know if this resonates with you anyway, but let's say you had to make a decision at some point about anything, whatever it was. I had to do my research. Like I had to call five people, like, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I had to get a ton of opinions or read books or go on the
Yes,
internet and Google, right? It's like, I can't make this decision myself. So I'm just gonna like, what if I make the wrong
the wrong
decision?
one. Yes.
Right? And then the fallout out of that and the judgment around it. And I'm a failure. And I just
Mm,
would sit in that shame.
yes.
So, right? I was just like so worried about judgment. And oh my goodness, when you become a mom, holy, the worst thing you can do is go on the internet. Like, oh,
The
you,
Google rabbit
yeah.
hole.
And God forbid, right? God
Yeah.
forbid you decide to do something that goes against the norm. Or God forbid, or you drop your kid fell off the couch and you're like, oh my God, I'm the worst mom ever. Or you fed your kid the wrong formula, or you did something. There's just so much judgment and you're judging yourself against every other person out there. And then you see these moms that seem to just have it all together, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Because
Oh man.
like I am falling apart over here and I don't know what's going on. But what I realize is that we're all thinking the same thing. We're all
Mhm.
going, how do they all have it together? And people would think that about me. And I thought that was really funny because I'm like, you think I've got my stuff together? Oh boy. So, it was just so focused on the judgment of others. And I would make decisions around that judgment or not do something because I was so worried about it. I look back now and I didn't accept the messiness because I was striving for perfection. But the funny and ironic thing is that the perfection's hiding in the messiness. And I felt like I constantly was failing as a parent. If my son was hurting or if something happened, then I was failing him. And I had to really learn and understand and accept that he has his own journey. It's not my job to lay down the path for him. It's my job to support him through it. And
Right.
while he makes his own path. And I think as well as I had to accept that being an entrepreneur and having my own business and working was part of who I was, and to accept that it was okay to do that and still be a mom.
I would say it's
It's
hard
hard,
to
right?
balance both. It's at least for me, I think about it, and there are times that I'm like, how do I be a mom and how do I get everything taken care of? But then when things happen, I mean, this is our third time rescheduling this because of my messy
Yep.
middle and my schedule. And it's like the guilt you feel of making the wrong decision, but knowing like you have to step back at times, it's an unreal feeling. Like, I don't think we talk about it enough either. I think we just look at the performance of looking at other individuals and looking at how would they judge me? How would they look at me? And Mel Robbins, for me, this week said it best of give others permission to think negatively of you and like do the decision that works best for you. And like that just tenfold for me changed everything. I was like, well, that's a good way. Because if I don't think I'm dressing the right way going to, going out in public, it's like, well, who cares? Let them. So it seems like with your journey too, and I love this. I love your messy middle. I love tying into being a mom and entrepreneur. Your worth has been tied a lot to your performance. And as a mom, woman, partner, and business owner, how did living with that shape you, how you saw yourself? How did you show up every day and how
Oh,
did it shape you?
I mean, I talked a little bit earlier about the lens that I saw the world through, and
Yes.
that lens was distorted. It was.
Mm.
And when I coach people and coach women around this, it's like, okay, that's one of the first questions we ask is what lens are you seeing this through? And what story are you telling yourself? And a lot of times, and then the next question to that, I was just doing a talk on this a couple of days ago, and is that story true? And you mentioned Mel Robbins, right? Oh yeah.
Ah, yes.
You got to,
Mhm.
right? I love her. And I was just saying in my talk 2 days ago, I just did a talk on this, and I said, expect people to talk shit about you because they most likely are. And just because we do it too, we know what that is. I mean, sometimes even with my husband, what I write in my journal may not necessarily be something he needs to know. It's just me having that moment. And I think that's really important is when you expect people just to think negatively or say stuff about you, you're not in the room with them. You have no idea what they're saying.
Right.
And right?
You have no
Because
idea. You
then
don't know what they're thinking. You don't know anything. It's out of your control.
completely. So why are we spending so much of our time and our energy thinking about something that we actually have no idea is happening and has no impact on our lives? And that, like when we talk about the lens that I saw myself through, that was all of it. The lens was I was not enough as I was. I couldn't show up as I was because I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I was not worthy of your love attention. I had to deliver something to you. I had to either give you gifts. I had to do things for you. I had to go beyond my comfort zone. And, as for my clients in the business, I had to do more. I had to be more. I always had to be more than who I was because who I was had zero value in my mind. And that's the worth. And what happens with that is we're constantly people pleasing. We're constantly pushing ourselves. We're constantly saying, I need you to tell me I'm okay. So I'm going to do more and more and more until you tell me that I'm okay. And it
Right.
drained everything from me. Hmm.
I think you're sparking a lot like in me right now because I'm still on this journey. Like my journey just started in May and there are still moments like that self-worth, that validation that it pops up and it's like, why? And I love that you added in there of like you had to look at the story and the lens because I don't think I've done that. And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
that's a really good thing to actually look at because how you speak to yourself, how you look at yourself, like it can do a lot of things. And if you don't manage that properly, because it goes back into like our mindset and our mind and
Yeah.
thinking positively, like it can really change the trajectory of how we actually live our lives and what we do and how we think. So you're
Hun-
sparking a lot in me right now.
we always focus on what's not going to work
Right.
or what's not good or and let's flip the switch. Like, what if it does work? What
Right.
if you're okay?
You have to look at it that way. And I never thought of looking at it that way. I never thought of taking the risk. I never thought like it was okay to do it because we were taught in our culture that you just need to follow the steps. You're going to get there. You're going to be okay. It's perfectly fine. And then when you think about the risks and talk about the risks, it's no, 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 you shouldn't. You're going against the norm. You're going against the status quo. You're messing up your life. And then that whole judgment back in your mindset everybody of like, do I need validation from them? Do I need validation from my mom? Do I need validation from my dad? And then you just have all this negative self belief. When do you start believing in yourself? And for you, how did you start reclaiming your sense of self?
Well, I look back at the past and I'm going to share a story of something that really shifted for me. And this wasn't actually that long ago. I've been working on myself for many, many years and I overcome a binge eating disorder and I struggle with body dysmorphia and body image issues from the time that I was a little girl. I had a binge eating disorder for over 30 years of my life.
Can I pause you for a
Mhm.
minute?
Yeah.
You are so freaking beautiful. And like, gorgeous. Like, so
Thank you.
I know you're about to dig into the story and everything, but I just had to like interrupt you because I'm like, our perceptions of ourselves and what we go through is not what other people see. And I'm like, that is not what I see when I look at you.
And it's funny, like you mentioned that, because one of the things I wrote down when I was looking at the questions here was
Yeah.
I borrowed other people's belief in myself for a little while until I could see it in my own eyes. But
Yeah.
I will tell you, like body image wise, I could never look at myself in the eye in the mirror ever for a
Oh.
very long time in my life. Like I would look from the neck down and I would
Mhm.
say terrible things to myself.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible. And it's so interesting. And when I got to the point where I was able to actually force myself to look at myself in the eye or mirror, and immediately when I did that, I started to cry. It all led up to this conversation. And this was a major shift for me. It wasn't even that long ago. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's a health coach, and I was explaining to her, and she was the first one that got it because I said, I don't have the eating disorder anymore, but I still hate the way that I look because I'm so disgusted the way that I look. And I'm like, do I still have my eating disorder? And she says, no. There's body dysmorphia and then there's an eating disorder. They don't need to be connected to each other. Because I was like, what's going on with me? And I said, the noise in my head, it's just going all the time. And this noise just doesn't affect the way we look. It affects everything I did. It was just so loud sometimes, and I couldn't figure out the noise. And I was sharing with her a story on one of our coaching calls. And I was telling her about the fact that I used my weight and my fat as a safety for me. It kept me safe, especially from male attention. And if I was fat, then they wouldn't look at me and they wouldn't say the things to me that sometimes they would say. And I was like, okay, I'm safe. And I was talking about this, sharing with her, and she paused and she stopped me right there. And she said, Renee, do you like yourself?
Mm.
And I sat there,
Right.
right? And I sat there and I'm thinking to myself, and it was just like sometimes it's like the slap in the face. It's like, what? And I sat there and I went, I do. And I was so shocked that I actually said that. I actually said, you know what? I actually do like myself. I like that I laugh big and I like that I love big and I like that I see you and I hear you and I can help pay attention and give you that space to be you. I love all that kind of stuff about myself. And she said, then why are you letting the outside world decide your worth? Why are you letting those men decide your worth? Why are you letting your clients, why are you letting everybody else decide your worth? And I looked at her and I went, I don't know. I don't know. In that moment, something shifted for me.
Okay.
And it was like what I realized, and what was so profound for me is that in that moment, I realized that I had developed a habit of thinking poorly about myself. And I had done it for so long that it just became second nature. And one of the things I do is I'm just finishing my hypnotherapy certification. And one of the things we do is we talk about the unconscious mind a lot.
Okay.
And the unconscious mind has a purpose, and that purpose is to keep us safe. Even if those habits are harmful to us, it's going to keep us safe because it keeps us in our comfort zone. And
Yep.
so I was comfortable beating myself up emotionally. And I realized in that moment that that whole habit no longer served me,
Mm.
and I gave myself permission to let go of the habit and embrace that it's okay to like myself. And I think it was really important for me because she didn't ask me if I loved myself. She asked me if I liked myself. And I think if she said, do you love yourself, Renee? I probably would have said no.
A different answer. Yeah. If you asked me that right now, I would probably say I like myself. I definitely would say I like myself. I'm straight in the messy middle right now, though. Like, there are lots of things that I'm struggling with internally that I'm trying to allow myself to be okay with because I'm
Mm.
I'm releasing that control. It's like we're not aging. But for so long, I have held that control. I have held that within myself. I have held that within like my surroundings and people around me. And it's just within that last year, starting to do that inner work and starting to work through it all when you start releasing it, but you still struggle. I
Mhm.
think that's my biggest thing right now is I'm struggling through it and I'm trying to let my unconscious mind not win because there are
Mm.
moments it comes back and resorts back to being like, you can't do this, you're not worthy, you're not enough, trying to like pull me back. And it's like, no, I'm trying to break through that barrier and break through that wall and just trying to find myself and reclaim myself and where I fit into everything, especially after becoming a mom. for me, I see it as a lot of work that you have to do. And I love that you said it's hypnotherapy you're working on. I would love to
Yes.
know more about that. Like, what are you learning about and what are you going to be able to offer in that aspect?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. So I've been on this journey for a really long time,
Okay.
but I was able to take the course. I took a course a number of years ago and fell in love with it. And you watch people like Tony Robbins, or you watch people like that,
Oh,
and they use techniques in there about reframing and things like that to shift perspectives. It's the words we use, they're so powerful. But then the
daily.
beauty of it, it's amazing, right? It's just if you shift even the words you use to describe something, it completely shifts your perspective. But what I've discovered is that the unconscious mind is very, very powerful, as we know, right? That's that self-talk. That's the stuff that the majority of the time we are in our unconscious. That's where all of those thoughts and feelings come from. I've helped people get through anxiety. I've helped people with confidence. I've already done this. I've helped people sports wise, like peak performance wise, to get into the zone, right? So I'm working on that and I'm learning more and more and more. But what I've discovered is the unconscious mind, it has a purpose. It's not logical. Your unconscious mind is purposeful. And that job of the unconscious is to keep you safe. And sometimes, though, what happens is it just overdoes it. And what it is the unconscious mind can still keep you safe, but still allow you to move forward and take the chances. And like you said, get out of your own way. But there's work around that we do in hypnotherapy to say, you have permission, unconscious mind, to still keep this person safe, but would you be willing to give her permission to kind of step out there and do the things that she wants to do? And that is done through hypnosis, and it's pretty powerful. And sometimes I've seen, we can do sometimes in one session, sometimes it takes more, but it allows people to give themselves permission to let go of maybe what's been holding them back in a safe way so that your unconscious mind doesn't get really loud and be like, urge, stop, no, no, no. And
Yeah.
it's just like, no, you know what? No, she's still safe. She's still okay. And I get to keep her safe. But now I get to move her into where she wants to go. And we do a lot of work around that. And as a coach, I've been doing this with my clients. We do projections into the future and visualizing what that future looks for them and the feelings that go with that and picturing that beautiful place that you're going to end up and owning that. And I could go on forever about it. Like I could literally talk about it forever, but I've just been able I've been able to use it with people in sessions and I've seen the results. And you check a few weeks later, a month later, and they're still feeling those results. And it's amazing. It just brings me an extreme amount of joy.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I love that it's about hypnosis too. There are so many people out there that are skeptical about it. I know that, but I have been hypnotized twice in my life, and it's an experience. Like my first time
Mhm.
was in college, my freshman year, and then my second time was actually last year before I quit my job. At a Christmas party, they hired a hypnotist, and I went up there. I was one of the final three up there. And I remember people like leaving and not wanting to be part of it just because it made them uncomfortable. But I'm a sponge. I've mentioned this a lot in my episodes. Like I'm a sponge to everything because I love learning, I love growing,
Mhm.
I love developing. And I'm one that can actually be hypnotized. So I think that's actually super cool that that's like the basis of it and being able to work on that unconscious mind and really looking at
Mhm.
you're still safe, but you're allowed. You're allowed to move forward. You're
Yeah.
allowed to grow. You're allowed to embrace the world around you. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, when do you get fully like certified?
I'm graduating in like the next week,
Ah,
and then I'll be
exciting.
certified. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is
Hmm.
so exciting. I think that just gives you a lot more to offer to with everything, that you've gone
Hmm.
through and how you're
Yeah.
coaching and bringing out to others around the world. I want to talk honestly about the cost of continuing to perform what you've outgrown because this isn't neutral. When we keep performing old versions of ourselves, our body, yes, our wonderful bodies, our bodies keeps the score. It can show up as chronic fatigue, as resentment you can't explain, as numbness, as you guys have heard in my story. Mine shows up as my face goes numb. Half of my face goes numb and everything spikes. My body alarms me that, nope, no, 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 you're out of alignment, which is completely new. And maybe anxiety Anxiety doesn't have a clear source. And here's the part most people miss. Performance does not just exhaust you, it slowly disconnects you from your own truth. You stop knowing what you actually want. You stop trusting your internal signals. You start living by expectation instead of intuition. And the longer that goes on, the louder the body has to get through exhaustion, through shutdown, through symptoms that finally force you to stop. And that's not punishment. Our bodies are so miraculous and magical. It is not punishment. It is protection. Our bodies are not betraying us. It's trying to bring you back to yourself. This is why I care so deeply about how we support the body in seasons like this, because presence is not a mindset. And because this work, it doesn't live only in our thoughts or our beliefs. It lives in our body. It is a physiological state. For me and my family, herbal support has been one way we help our body remember how to regulate, especially through Pioneer Pam. And I want to say this clearly. I don't use herbs to override my body. I don't use them to push through, and I don't use them to fix myself. I use them to listen to it. I use them to partner with my body, especially in seasons like this one, where everything is asking us to slow down, regulate, and rebuild resilience from the inside out. And let's not forget about the hospital visits and stays whenever we're there. It helps me in every aspect of my life. And Mullein. Mullein, for example, supports the lungs and breath. And breath is not just physical. It's emotional. When life has been tight or overwhelming, breath is the first thing we lose. Mullein supports the body in opening, softening, and exhaling. And guys, elderberry, this is my jam. Elderberry supports our immune resilience, not just during illnesses or sicknesses, but during recovery, after stress. It helps the body remember how to respond instead of staying stuck in defense mode. And lion's mane, it supports cognitive function, nervous system health, clarity in a world that constantly fragments our attention. As a mom who's always going a million miles a minute, trying to keep everything straight, it helps keep everything clear. And these herbs don't force the body into productivity. They help support regulation. They work with the body's natural intelligence, something we have so forgotten how to trust. And across cultures and across history, herbs have always been used this way. Not to rush healing, not to bypass discomfort, but to support the body while it remembers how to come back into balance. And that's exactly what this season and this work is asking of us. And then there's another layer that matters here, and I want to name that. Because nervous system regulation doesn't stop at herbs, and it doesn't stop at even just our mindset. It goes deeper, it goes cellular. That's where Make Wellness bioactive precision peptides come in for me. Most of us have been taught to think about wellness in terms of motivation and weight loss. But motivation doesn't regulate a nervous system. Safety does. Bioactive precision peptides support the body at the level of cellular communication, helping our systems like sleep, energy, stress response, and recovery work with one another instead of competing for resources. When the body doesn't feel safe, it stays braced. And then when the body stays braced long enough, presence becomes impossible, no matter how much inner work you do. And what I've experienced with bioactive precision peptides is not a spike of energy or a forced sense of calm. It is true capacity. Better sleep that actually restores, more stable energy throughout the day, a nervous system that doesn't overreact to every demand. And that matters because when your system feels supported, You don't have to try to slow down. Slowness becomes accessible, presence becomes possible. You stop white knuckling your way through life and start responding instead of reacting. That is not about optimization. That is about regulation. It's about building a body that can hold the life you're becoming without collapsing under it. Because stopping the performance of who you've outgrown isn't just a mindset shift, it's a biological one. This is what it looks like to support your becoming, not rush it. So I kind of want to backtrack a little bit. You described worth as a little bit of an inside job, having to work on that unconscious. What helped that belief move from something you understood intellectually to something you actually live?
Action,
Action.
action,
It's so
right?
hard, but yes.
Right?
Yep.
I started putting things in place. Like I have my people in my world that are my cheerleaders. So that's one of the things is I have those people. I know that we need people in our life to be those reality checkers and the ones
Yeah.
that kind of challenge us and push us. But we also need people in our life to be our cheerleaders, those safe people that when we need to be lifted up, we can reach out.
Yep.
So I have my people that I can call, and there are not many of them. There's only a few that I feel like I can just really call that know me and can really be that cheerleader for me. But it was taking those little tiny actions. It was saying yes to an opportunity and trusting that it was going to be okay. Because I think the most important thing is that I accepted that failure was just part of my journey. It does not mean that I'm a failure and there's no shame attached to it because I have failed more often than I can even mention. And as a mother, I have failed. I lost my mother of year card many times.
Mm.
I have yelled at my son when I couldn't, I just yelled. Or, I said the wrong thing, or I did the wrong thing, or maybe I hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe my business had a colossal failure and I made a mistake. And if you know anything about Sarah Blakely, who's the creator of Spanx, she's brilliant, but she said, failure means I'm trying. If I'm not trying, I can't fail. She sees not trying as the failure. So when you start embracing it and expecting it, that it's just going to be part of your journey, I've realized that I don't need to beat myself up about it. There's no shame in that. Do I pick myself up and keep going? Absolutely, I do. It's just like our kids learning how to walk. Imagine the first time if they fell down and they never got up again, they'd never walk. So kids don't see failure as a negative. They just keep going and we can learn from that. And it's just like, I now know that it's very possible. And this is a question I've asked my coaching clients. It's on the talk that I do is if you knew you could fail, you knew it could be possible, what would you do?
That is such a good question. So for
Mhm.
me, like everything that pops up, for me, I'm like, I'm on that stage where I'm like, if I'm learning and failing, I'm learning and I can
Yeah.
do better next time. I may make the same mistake a couple more times, but it's that repetition of like, oh, darn it, I just made it. But then also tuning in. But I think it's so interesting asking that because if I wasn't in the position I was in right now and where I'm at, like for me, I would say I wouldn't do it. Why would I put myself into failure and into somebody else's judgment?
Ah, isn't that interesting?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So it goes right. It goes back to when I had that moment and that conversation, and I
yeah.
shifted and went, why am I letting everybody else decide my worth? And I think of Brene Brown, where she talks about the quote, the man in the arena quote. She
Okay.
uses that in her book called Daring Greatly. And if you're not in the arena with me, if you're not struggling with me and we're not there together, if you want to sit in the stands and judge me, go for it. But
Yeah.
I know my trials and troubles. And I'm not saying that when people do a negative comment or they comment on something or they say something to me, it hurts. It absolutely hurts. I'm human, but I let it hurt for a little bit and then I keep going. And that's what it is that you're not in the arena with me and I'm not in the arena with you. You're going through your own journey. And I think when I started letting go of judgment of others and when I started looking at them with curiosity and compassion, and embracing them, I was able to embrace myself
I love that.
because we're all in this journey together. We are going through the mess together. None of us know what we're doing. We may
Nope.
pretend that we do. We may have moments that we do on social media, may look like we do, but none
Right.
of us know what we're doing. We're just figuring it out. So when I started looking at it that way, I could empathize it and sit beside you as my friend and be like, I'm going to hold space for you. And when I started doing that, I was able to start holding space for myself. And there's something that's really important. And somebody said this to me so often, Renee, you can't stay quiet. You can't stay quiet because your message could help somebody else.
Yep.
You were never meant to stay small. I was never meant to stay small.
Right.
We are not meant to do that. We are meant because what you do helps somebody else, and staying small and staying quiet takes that gift away from them.
Right. Absolutely. I think too, like if we try staying small, I mean, or we start going after the risk, we always think, oh, we're going to get it in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month. And it's like everything takes time. It is a journey, it is not a destination. Like me starting up everything I've done, this podcast, like there have been so many times in almost the last year that I'm like, I just need to throw in the towel. It's not where I want it to be. But when I started it, I intentionally told myself, I'm not going to go viral overnight. I'm never going to speak from the mountaintop because that's not me. I'm going to speak right in the middle and I'm going to align with other individuals that are in the middle on the journey or have a little bit more knowledge that can teach me because then I'm learning. And
Hmm.
I think it's so beautiful because you have to give yourself that chance, be in that arena, allow the naysayers to be the naysayers because they don't know what you're going through. And you're doing something that they may on their deathbed someday be thinking, man, I wish I would have done what I've always wanted to do. Because we only get one
Hmm.
life. We only get this one chance, this one opportunity. We don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. I always pray that I'm going to. And I thank every day that I get to because I get to see the beautiful world unfold underneath me and the journeys we're all going through. And
It's beautiful.
it's so beautiful. And I personally don't think we would have ever connected if we weren't on a similar path.
Hmm.
Different,
Right?
similar. You have to be looking for that arena, right? You need to be looking for the arena that's in the same bucket with you and wanting to push and
Yeah.
better ourselves and help others around us. There's already so much negativity in this world. Why do we have to tie it to ourselves or at someone else?
And that's like when you start looking at your goal and where you want to go and things like that, it has to be something that's in your control. And that's really important to remember is I can't control the world. I can't control what other people do or think or say. I can't control the economy. I can't control any of it. The only thing that I can control is how I act and how I react.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only thing that's in my power. So when it's easy to get wrapped into a whole bunch of things or negativity or somebody else's idea of what you should be, but those are out of your control.
Hmm.
And so I've asked myself many, many times, what in this situation can I control? And how do I stay in my lane? And I've had to do that and pause many, many times. It's just if I'm relying on outside people to be different, then I'm the only one that's getting disappointed.
Right. And you're the one that's stopping your growth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
love
can't
that.
blame that on anybody else. I can't.
Mm-mm. You have
No.
everything within you to go after it, to slow down, to speed up, to change how you think, how you operate. And that's where it should align. You have me thinking about a lot of things just on my journey, and this is episode's not about me. Where I could be like, you almost got me in tears earlier when you were talking about body shaming and looking at yourself in the mirror. And like it flashed me back to Costa Rica, where my teacher's mom was also on retreat, and she was like, Sydney, come here. So, well, first in the beginning, we did an opening circle and then we did holotropic breathing. And I shared some very intimate stuff about like hating myself.
Hmm.
And the next day, she was like, Sydney, come here. She made me stand in the mirror and tell myself, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I love and respect myself. I love and respect myself. I love and respect myself. And I was bawling my eyes out. And now, anytime I step in front of that mirror, fully dressed, naked, shoulders looking down, like I repeat that because I don't want to hate my body. I want to love
Right?
myself. And sorry, I could go on so many different tangents because you have a juicy, juicy story and a juicy, messy middle. And I love this. And I'm pretty positive the audience is going to want a part two with us Uh,
For sure.
I want a part two. So, but like that was one thing that I was like trying to hold back my tears. I'm like, I'm not crying on episode today. Like, I don't think I've
It's
done
okay.
that. So I love it. Man, is there anything else that you're like, oh, this is really on my heart and I really want to share this? Or even like one piece of truth or permission of truth to give women listening?
Mm.
And what would that be?
Oh, I was thinking about this, and it's something, sometimes you can get wrapped up in trying to deliver the perfect message, but that's not what this is about, right?
Oh,
So I sat with it and I meditated and I thought about it. And this is what I would say: who you are is not tied to what you do. And
I love that.
you are a mom. That is something that you do. It is part of your identity, but it isn't who you are. If you're a business owner, your business is a reflection of you, but it is not who you are. If the world changed all around you, you lost everything, there's no money in the bank account, who you are is still who you are. And that's what was really important for me to recognize. And that was what I was able to do to move the needle ahead and take the risks and ask for the opportunities and reach out to somebody like you and connect in that way. And I always think like, you aren't what you do. My son will still love my hugs and love my laughter. Our children accept us exactly as we are. They really, really do.
Yeah.
And we show up messy with them every single day and they just love us. And regardless of what I do for a living. And I just, you are not who you do, you are who you are. I think that's what I would say. And also, for goodness gracious, just give yourself a break.
Right. We
Oh my
don't do that
God.
enough.
Well, just give yourself a break. I have ADHD as well, and so does my husband. So we laugh about it a lot. And I love and embrace my ADHD, and I think it's my superpower, and I think it's awesome. And I build my life around embracing that as opposed to fighting against it. And I'll just, my husband the other day, he comes into the bedroom, he's laughing. And I was like, what? And he's like, did you have an ADHD moment? And I'm like, what are you even talking about? He's like, you left the kitchen sink, the tap on this kitchen sink running. I'm like, I totally forgot I even did that. And he's laughing because he just shut the tap off and away we went. And he didn't like make me feel bad about it in any way. And we just both laughed because I'm just like, welcome to my chaos. And that's how I show up. So just show up as you are. And you know what? When you show up as you are, you give other people permission to show up as they are too. And that creates such a meaningful connection. So just be you because you're awesome.
I love that. I think that message like is so strong. I think everybody else is feeling it. It's something that I literally I want to write out and have in front of me like every day. There are things that just it helps trigger you, right? It helps keep you in that
Hmm.
perfect mindset. And I love your ADHD story. I would call that a mom moment. I do that. It's
Right?
like somebody told me, they were like, yeah, if I don't respond to you in 3 to 5 business days, it's okay. Like,
Right?
mom. And
I've
I'm like, yeah,
forgotten.
that's normal. So,
Yeah, in my head, I responded. In my
yeah,
head, we had a great conversation, but it just never actually, really
yeah.
actually happened.
In your
Yeah,
head, you shut off that faucet.
in my head, I
Yeah.
did.
Oh my goodness. Renee, you are just so lovely, beautiful inside out. I hope to have you back for a part two. I think you're phenomenal. And I would love to actually tease the audience and make it longer for next time.
Yes, I would love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
In my show notes, I am going to be able to put in where others can find you. So, where could the audience find you?
Well, I'm on social media with my name is Renee Stribbell. You'll find me on Instagram. It's just Renee Stribbell. And then my website is the same, reneestribbell.ca. So that can be in the show notes. And I would love for you guys to reach out to connect. My coaching packages and everything on there as well. So if anybody wants coaching, I'm here on a whole bunch of things. But I would love to connect. And if hypnotherapy is something that you're interested in, I would love to be able to see if I can help. Hmm.
Amazing. Well, thank you
Hmm.
so much. I'm so thankful we got finally together after 3
Yay!
reschedules. And everybody who's listening, we're just so appreciative you joined us today. And remember, here at the Sydney Jocelyn Collective, you do not rise through it alone. We will rise through it together.